So what we really need is a political endgame before the American withdrawal. And really, my message in this new book is simply that the Americans have to bring about an end to the, first a reduction in the violence and then an end to the violence. In other words, they have to bring about some kind of ceasefire between themselves and the Afghan army on one side and the Taliban on the other. And then they have to encourage a political dialogue between the Karzai government and the Taliban on power sharing within Afghanistan, so that there can be some modicum of representation of the Taliban inside the government, and we could actually see the violence reduced even to the extent of a ceasefire. Now, if the Americans leave Afghanistan in a state of conflict and war, then I fear we may well be looking, many of us will be looking back to Vietnam and see what happened there once the Americans left, and the fall of the South Vietnamese government that could well be replicated in Afghanistan with much more horrendous consequences, because it will suck in the region, and I don't see a two-way civil war. There'll be a multi-dimensional civil war between many different factions. So the real need of the hour in Afghanistan is a political solution. And now, unfortunately, to its credit, the Obama administration finally got round to talking to the Taliban. Unfortunately, those talks have been suspended, partly by the Taliban, but also because of acute divisions within this administration. There are divisions between the military, who do not want to talk to the Taliban at this stage, and have made it very clear, and several blockages have been put up by the military, which have prevented the State Department and the White House, who've been wanting to talk to the Taliban, and have had several meetings with the Taliban, to really move forward. And unfortunately, now we are in this election cycle, your election cycle, and for the next 6 months, really, I don't see very much movement, because President Obama is not going to take any step which will give the Republicans a chance to hammer him for being soft on the Taliban or anything. Now, the whole point is that 2014 is not far away. We're talking about the next 18 months or so, which are absolutely critical. And negotiations such as these, as you experienced with the Vietnamese, which I think went on for 3 or 4 years, you need time. These negotiations can't be done on American time. They have to be done on Afghan time. And Afghan time means patience and many months and years of negotiation, possibly. And certainly, time is really running out. I hope that this administration, is able to resume the talks with the Taliban and will push ahead with the talks with the Taliban, and then involve the Karzai government as well, so that we can see a withdrawal which is both honorable for the United States and at the same time leaves Afghanistan in some modicum of peace and stability rather than in a state of civil war.